And the House is still in recess, but lawmakers have a massive to-do list when they return. FBI Director Kash Patel is urging Congress to publicly release more documents related to the Durham report and the annex as we learn more details about Hillary Clinton's role in creating the Russia hoax. One declassified email exposes how she orchestrated the entire plot. Former House Freedom Caucus chair and Trump's former White House chief of staff, Mark Meadows, joined us last night to detail how Clinton's campaign is working with the deep state.
Durham had a huge investigation that took many months. What we're starting to see is the coordination that happened between the Clinton campaign, between those in the three-letter agencies that we're all too familiar with. But I think the troubling thing that appears to be coming out is that over and over and over again, there was real pressure at the very top levels of these agencies to have a narrative out there that we knew was false.
And of course, we're still dealing with the consequences of the Russia hoax today. And Trump's Justice Department says this was all by design.
President Trump said the Russia hoax was meant to destroy the relationship with Russia, make it impossible to get things under control, get a reset like Hillary said she wanted.
Joining us now is House Oversight Committee member and Florida gubernatorial candidate, Congressman Byron Donalds. Congressman, great to see you tonight. So is the Oversight Committee working on releasing documents mentioned in the Durham Annex?
Yeah, that's something that we're going to be getting to when we get back. Somewhat similar to the subpoenas we issued for the Epstein files that happened about a week and a half ago. So, look, I think this is where we need to go. When it comes to the Durham Annex, we need that information to be public. What is crystal clear is that Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign financed, obviously, the Steele dossier, but behind the scenes was using the elements of our government, our intelligence community. I also believe the FISA court system to not just spy on the campaign of then candidate Donald Trump, but to undermine the presidency of Donald Trump simply because she lost and could not be president. And so this is stuff that we need to release to the American people. We need to get to the bottom of that immediately.
Congressman Jason Chaffetz here. Yeah, getting those documents is key. They were under subpoena. I know because I was there and involved in signing such documents, but they weren't released. They were hidden, and now they can be exposed because they have been declassified. The follow-up, though, question, Congressman, is are you going to start to hold hearings? Because if you bring up Clapper and Comey and Brennan and those and ask the same questions that were asked previously, I think it would be fascinating to see if they pled the fifth or if they actually gave a different answer than they did when they were under oath previously answering these questions.
We absolutely should. They should be compelled to testify in front of Congress, both House and Senate. Let's compare what their comments they make to us now to what they said in media and what they said in previous investigations. That's going to be startling for the American people to see. And people might say, well, why are you going back to the well on Russiagate? Because what we witnessed almost 10 years ago now is that the Democrats wielded our government. They wielded the deep state to undermine a president of the United States. If they can do that, they can do anything with our government. You cannot allow something like this to happen. So we have to expose it. All of it needs to be exposed. Those people that were involved, they need to come in, they need to testify, and they need to do it in front of the American people. And if they choose to plead the fifth, then it speaks volumes to what they were doing to then candidate Trump and then, of course, the 45th administration of President Donald Trump.
Congressman, it's Anita Vogel. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Last night, Mark Meadows also told us he witnessed Adam Schiff and other Democrats leaking to the media after leaving the secure SCIF rooms, where they often viewed classified information. Take a listen.
The only thing that's not surprising to me is the fact that there were leaks coming out of the Democrat operatives, many of them, including Chairman Schiff, I was served with. And yet I can tell you that when we were in SCIFs, we could take a break from the SCIF and go out and find the Democrat talking points of what we discussed in the SCIF already given to the legacy media. Should it be investigated further? Absolutely. And those that are guilty should be held accountable.
So, Congressman, based upon that, will the Oversight Committee look into Schiff and other Democrats for leaking to the press during the 2016 Russia hoax?
We absolutely should, and it shouldn't just be House oversight. It should also be House intel, because what Chief Meadows was saying is stories that I've heard in my time on Capitol Hill, that Adam Schiff primarily and others would read something in the skiff, go out to the cameras, and either tell it to the press or leak it to the press so he could get asked questions. It is it is undermining the intelligence gathering apparatus, and it also demonstrates the manipulation that the Democrats were engaged in top to bottom, in my view. I'm not just talking about Hillary. I'm talking about the DNC, the White House, members of Congress. It was a top to bottom way of undermining the intelligence gathering operation in order to undermine President Trump during his first term. So it needs to fully be investigated. And yeah, he's a member of the Senate now, but that doesn't matter. Leaking classified information is illegal. No member of Congress is allowed to do that.
Congressman Kevin Corke here. Thank you for your time tonight. Former U.S. Attorney General Bill Barr is set to be headed to the Hill tomorrow for a deposition with the House Oversight Committee in its probe into Jeffrey Epstein. Barr, the first to be questioned in that investigation, which could include former President Bill Clinton, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton as well. In fact, they both have interviews scheduled for the coming months. So I'm just curious, what are you hoping to learn as we continue to delve into this Epstein situation? And as an aside, is there any reason to believe that Bill Barr worked with Fani Willis and others down in Georgia? That's something else I think a lot of people are curious about.
I think this is something that might come out in questioning tomorrow with AG Barr. I think on a broader level, what the Oversight Committee wants to accomplish is making sure that we have transparency for the American people. That's why we've issued subpoenas for the testimony from these individuals in closed-door depositions. This is why we've also subpoenaed the entire Epstein file so that information can be reviewed. Obviously, you want to protect victims. That's first and foremost. But that information can be reviewed and released to the American people. So this is a first step along that path. With respect to the Fani Willis stuff, and that might come up as well. We'll see where it goes.
All right, Congressman Byron Donalds, we'll be watching. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, Jason. So let's talk about this annex, which is really just more documentation in this case. Does Congress need to do this, or can the FBI do it themselves?
Yeah, look, Kash Patel has called upon Congress to release them, but there's nothing that precludes the Department of Justice, now that the documents have been declassified, and I'm sure there's some redactions in there, the Department of Justice can release this tomorrow if they really wanted to. I think it's a courtesy, though, to a Chairman Grassley, a Chairman Jordan, those types of people who are trying to put together a bigger, broader case. But yeah, they should release those documents. There should be a hearing where you bring these people in and they can make the case and force these people to answer questions under oath. And as it relates to Adam Schiff, I tell you, it's the first time I felt like he really is in trouble, not only on the mortgage front, but when you have a staffer, a Democratic staffer, allegedly, the story is that he has told investigators that he was directed to release classified information. You got to prosecute somebody like that.
Right.
As a member of Congress, you have a very high security clearance, but you still sign a document. You still sign an extra document. I think they should pull that out, put that out for the American people. Every member of Congress signs it, says you won't release that information. And if he did, and he did it purposefully, and he was using federal employees to do so, you got to prosecute the guy.
Yeah, because it comes down to a double standard, Kevin. I mean,
100%.
There have been members of the military who mistakenly shared classified information, not deliberately, who have served prison time for doing that. And yet there's people like Adam Schiff who tend to get away with it. But the thing that jumps out at me is, you know, Schiff was allegedly leaking classified information, but the information that was classified was really just classified to cover up what the Clinton campaign was doing with the Intelligence Committee. So it shouldn't have been classified in the first place. It's like when they redact things about furniture because they don't want to be embarrassed. I mean, much worse than that. But this information should have been classified in the first place, it seems.
And this is the real issue that happens a lot in Washington. Jason, you can speak to this sometimes in an overabundance of caution. You can have basically black Sharpie all throughout a document. The truth is, some of this, and I dare argue a lot of this, need not be redacted. And let's be honest about what we've seen here. We've seen congressional lawmakers possibly involved in a grand conspiracy to utilize material that they knew to be false or misleading to undermine a sitting president of the United States of America, to circumvent the will of the American people. This is not a small matter, and I think whether it's Adam Schiff, whether it's James Comey and others, Clapper, we can run down the list, I think justice must be served to prevent this from ever happening again.
Anita, I think there's a lot of Americans watching and saying, okay, there is new information here, but why is Congress looking at this? What are the next steps here for what the American people can expect for information from their lawmakers?
Yeah, well, we talked about this last night. You know, it's so interesting that after 8 years, the story is finally moving forward. Finally, documents are coming to light. Investigations will soon be underway about how this whole Russian collusion narrative came to light and how it did truly undermine the presidency of Donald Trump. And it really, and we talked about this last night, how it affected his relationship with Putin and other world leaders. It also brought down the careers of people like Michael Flynn and others. And now the big question will be, you know, will there be consequences for the people that you mentioned that are possibly involved here, including Hillary Clinton?
Yeah, and Jason, we have elections every 4 years. So the big overriding thing here is this problem solved? Is the deep state still going to work with Democratic operatives to essentially try and rig an election with this false narrative in an official intelligence document that was then used to torpedo the first 4 years of the Trump administration, which led to impeachments and special counsels and all of that? I mean, there are big questions about whether this ideology has been rooted out of these places.
No, if you think the deep state is done trying to go after Donald Trump or Republicans and conservatives, you got another thing coming.
Exactly.
The reality is, the allegation is that the Clinton campaign set aside $10 million. They gave it, they put it over, they created this fake dossier, which was the precursor that led to all these articles in the newspaper. But more importantly, and this one still just sticks under my craw, is this idea that they use this as the predicate to do what they shouldn't have done, which is spy on the Trump campaign and others related to him, to go to the court, testify in writing that you have verified information, that you could go after these people because you have seen these documents, and I'm talking about James Comey and others, and you go to the court and to get the court to allow you to spy on somebody, doesn't get any worse than that. Don't tell me that, oh, that happened a long time ago and, oh, that's already been exposed. You got to prosecute people who do those types of things. That court, and where's the court?
Yeah.
Where is the court? You lie to the court in another setting? Do you think they would ever hold you in contempt? Where is the Supreme Court on this? And they oversee the FISA court.
You're right, and we have to reform the FISA court. This is something that can never happen again. I'm so glad you pointed that out. A lot of people are, oh, it's in the past, like you said, oh, it's 8 years ago. But the truth is, let justice be served, one way or the other, though the heavens fall. We've got to get to the bottom of this, and people have to pay.
I got to add a little bit of color to this. I was on the House Judiciary Committee. I'm not an attorney, and I know that sounds like I'm bragging, but I said to my chairman, I want to go to the FISA court because I want to see it. And then they admitted it's not really a court. What they do is they take this document, they give it to a federal judge who sits in a skiff by himself, and there's nobody else there, and they just read these documents. So if you're not 100% certain on those documents, guess what? You have lied to the court, you have deceived the American people, you have undermined justice, and that's why you have to be held accountable. And you can't just get away with it and say, well, you know, I based it on intelligence. I mean, it's just gibberish.
Yeah.
You either lied or you didn't lie. And I'm sorry, but it looks like they lied.
Yes, it does.
And to your point, Anita,
real quick, if these things bear out, right, if these things come to light and they bear out, this makes Watergate look like small potatoes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It really does.
well, they ruin people's lives, as you mentioned. So we'll be watching all of it.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.